two or more persons come together to do a business. But in a limited partnership, the partners are limited, okay, to the funding that they put in the business. Okay, the partners are, sorry, in a limited liability partnership, rather, the partners are limited to the funding that they put in the business. Okay, that means like a company, like a private company limited by shares or a public company limited by shares. Okay, the partners are actually limited to the monies they put in. Okay, so that means if anything happens to the business, okay, their the damages or whatever debt or liability the business incurs will not affect them in any way. Okay, but in a limited partnership, okay, the limited partnership is in two folds. You have the general partnership, and then you have the investment partnership. Now, these two make up for limited partnership. What this means is that in a limited partnership, the partners are actually the general partners, okay, are actually has unlimited liability. In other words, if the business goes south, if anything happens to the business, they are liable from their own resource, okay, from their own finances. They are to maybe pay for any offset or debt or whatever the business may fit. But an investment partner in a limited partnership, okay, is not subject to that. Okay, he has a limited liability. In other words, the liability the liability he has is subject to the investment that he puts in the business. Now, for this kind of business, who can start up this kind of business? Now, this kind of business actually good for. I'm talking about the limited partnership now. Limited partnership actually good for those who may have been let's say somebody, Nigerian diaspora, a Nigerian diaspora and a Nigerian here, okay, in Nigeria, who are planning to go into a business, and then just a moment, and then so they usually maybe someone the person here the person over there may want to put in some kind of big funding into the business, let's say like 20 million, 50 million into the business. However, the person here in Nigeria may have the skill to give or the managerial or to run the managerial affairs. Okay, so that is possible where somebody who has the skill for the business or who can actually operate or manage the business, that person can be the general partner, while the investment partner can be someone who actually is overseas, maybe not necessarily overseas. The person can still be in Nigeria, but the person may not really be in the everyday to-day affairs of the company, of the business. So a limited partner, the person can actually be a limited partner, okay, for the business. So that is actually how it can work for a limited partnership. And then the second part is the limited liability partnership. Now, for a limited liability partnership, now in this regard, the partnership, remember, like I said, is limited to, or rather, the owners of the business, their liability is limited to the investment they put in the business. But usually, it is a partnership. So anybody can come together to form a partnership and to do business. There's some